For 300,000 years, our species spent half of its existence trapped inside something we can barely imagine anymore. Total darkness. No streetlights, no screens, no locks on the doors because there were no doors. Just 12 hours of absolute black every single night for hundreds of thousands of years. And somehow, we survived it. But here's the question almost nobody asks. What were they actually doing in there? Awake, in the dark, surrounded by predators that could see better than they could? The answer is stranger than you think, and it might explain something deeply unsettling about who you are right now. Picture it. No fire yet, no walls, just a small group of early hominins pressed together in the open, listening. Night wasn't rest. Night was a test. Every sound was a decision. Branch snap predator or wind. Rustle in the grass leopard or nothing. The wrong guess meant death. The right one meant another day of being afraid. For most of human prehistory, darkness wasn't a backdrop. It was the most dangerous part of being alive. And then something changed everything. Fire. Not just warmth, not just light. Fire did something far more dangerous to the human mind. It gave us time. For the first time, our ancestors had hours where they weren't hunting, weren't fleeing, weren't working. Hours where the body was still, but the mind was wide awake. So what filled that silence? Anthropologists studying the Jew, Hoansi people of the Kalahari, one of the last groups to live anything close to this ancestral rhythm, found something almost nobody expects. During the day, conversation was practical. Complaints, gossip, economics, who owes who did what wrong. But at night, everything changed. At night, the same people told stories. Not random stories, myths, origin tales, ghost stories, cautionary legends about greed, betrayal, the dead, the unseen. Researchers found that over 80% of nighttime conversation around the fire was storytelling, almost none of it during the day, which means something disturbing. The architecture of human imagination, myth, religion, morality, meaning may not have evolved in daylight at all. It evolved in the one place we were most afraid. But here's where it gets darker. Why stories, specifically? Why not just sleep? Because fear doesn't switch off when the sun goes down, it gets louder. Sitting in silence, in the dark, with your mind racing toward every possible threat that is psychological torture. The brain doesn't tolerate unstructured fear well. It needs a narrative to organize the dread. So they gave it one. The story wasn't entertainment. It was a survival mechanism for the mind, the same way fire was a survival mechanism for the body. And this is the part almost nobody talks about. Some researchers believe this nightly ritual is the real root of human cooperation. During the day, you compete for food, for status, for mates. At night, around the fire, hierarchy softened. Stories created shared meaning. Shared meaning created trust. Trust created tribes that could survive things no individual could survive alone. In other words, civilization may not have been built by daylight ambition. It may have been built by nighttime fear. We didn't conquer the dark. We negotiated with it. And the price of that negotiation was paid in stories, myths, gods, and ghosts that still live inside your skull today. But there's a second discovery. One that's even more unsettling. For most of human history, we didn't sleep the way you sleep now. Historical records, sleep researchers, and pre-industrial societies without artificial light show something strange, a pattern called segmented sleep. People slept for several hours, woke naturally in the dead of night, stayed awake for 1 to 2 hours in near total darkness, and then slept again. That gap was called, in Old English records, the watch. Not a metaphor. A literal nightly window of consciousness. Alone. In the dark. With nothing to do but think. What did they do during the watch? Some prayed, some had sex. Some simply lay there in silence, thinking about death, about the day, about people they'd lost. Sleep researchers now believe this might be the origin of something we pathologize today. The 3 a.m. waking, the racing thoughts, the dread that visits when the world goes quiet. You call it insomnia. For most of human history, it wasn't a disorder. It was Tuesday. And here is the part that should genuinely disturb you. We didn't evolve out of that fear, we just covered it up. Electric light didn't eliminate the ancient terror of darkness, it buried it. The same nervous system that once needed fire and story and a tribe pressed close together for psychological survival now sits alone in a lit room, scrolling a phone at 2 a.m., feeling a hollow, nameless unease it can't quite explain. That unease has a name, It's just old. Older than language. Older than fire. It's the watch. It never left. We just stopped noticing it. So here's the reframe. This isn't really a video about ancient humans. It's about you. Every night, your ancestors face the same unstructured darkness you face right before sleep, the moment your mind stops being busy and starts being honest. They filled that void with myth, ritual, and each other. You fill it with notifications. They built meaning out of fear. We built distraction out of comfort. And somewhere in that trade, we may have lost the thing the fire was actually for, not light, but connection. Not safety from predators, but safety from our own minds. Maybe that's why the dark still feels wrong to us, even now, even in a world with no leopards left to fear. Maybe the unease you feel in silence isn't a malfunction, it's an inheritance. A 300,000-year-old instinct, whispering that you were never supposed to face the night alone, and that somewhere, underneath the streetlights and the screens, something in you is still waiting for the fire. Still waiting for someone to start the story. Because maybe the real darkness was never outside the flames. Maybe it was always inside us waiting for the story to stop.